Well, from that, we go to a guy who would be really fun to watch a football game with. That's because he spent some time on the sidelines, coaching, and on the field with the Oregon Ducks. He also spent some time as a TV analyst for football for most of his life. He's been involved with the game in some way. He's put all that experience into a book released this year. It's called After Further Review, a fan's guide to what's happening on the football field. Please welcome in studio Coach Ken Woody. Nice to have you here, Coach.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
I like the enthusiasm.
I love the title of your book, by the way. Your idea? How'd you come up with the title?
My editor, Bob Welch, who works with Registered Guard, came up with that idea. I have a column that happens after the game in the Registered Guard that we look at issues at a deeper level. So that's how the title came around.
It also includes some basic history, and I was fascinated to read about the history of the helmet, because at one time, did they not wear helmets at all in football?
A lot like rugby, you know, they had their hair long, and that was the only covering that they'd have. And back then, they didn't use their head to tackle, they'd use the shoulder. But the leather helmets came around when sororities started picking football players for house dances.
So, Coach, you can imagine playing like that. Who's the book for? Who do you see really enjoying the book?
The target audience is women and men who think they know a lot about football.
Well, that's most of us.
And, you know, I'm in Eugene now, and a lot of people are coming up to me going, why is this happening? Why did the coach do this? And so on. So it talks a lot about questions, but we talk about all phases of the game. I've had one woman who I married actually say
that one. Oh, that woman.
Yeah, she said her first college football game. She says when it rains, do they wear long pants? And so you know, men don't have a lot of patience with those kind of questions.
But it's a reasonable question.
It is.
Well, and there are also some women who know an awful lot too, and they get frustrated by the men who don't.
That's right.
You know, so it really can cross both genders.
So it's things to look for at the game to get more enjoyment out of it. And an example is a couple of years ago when Mariota was there, the Ducks would have 3 wide receivers to the side of the formation, and he'd look, and if there were only 2 defensive backs, he'd throw it out there. And so I wrote about this, look for this. We're playing Tennessee. Oh. And so this woman told me after the game, hey, I saw it and I told my husband they're going to throw a pass out there. And they did. And he goes, how'd you know that? Well, it happened 4 times. And at the end of the game, he says, you knew, how'd you? She says, well, I read it in X's and O's.
What chapter is that?
Well,
yeah. So I can start predicting
now,
this
you
stuff,
played
man.
3 positions when you were with the Ducks in the 60s. You played kicker, receiver, and cornerback. Never hear of that today. Why is that?
Well, it wasn't. I was really not very good to play any one of those positions. They just kept moving me around.
Come on.
So, but I was a regular kicker, but I was a backup defensive back and wide receiver. I played behind 4 guys that went to the NFL as a receiver. So I didn't, you know, I got in a little bit, but not too much.
I don't know if this is in your book, but the Washington Huskies, who I think most people realize lost their football game this past weekend. And one of the things that was glaring is they apparently don't have anybody that can kick the football. And you ask, how can Chris Peterson not recruit a kicker? What do you say to that?
Well, a lot of times they depend on just finding walk-ons and so on. But I will tell you this, that if you can get a kicker who can hit a football to hit a round goalpost and make it come back, that's skill. It's just, it's skill happening at the wrong time.
I'm curious to know, I mean, you get so many questions about the game. What's kind of a common question that you hear often that's in this book?
What do they say in the huddle? Why is the center pointing at the other team?
What do they say in the huddle?
Get your head out of your rear and protect me. That's what the quarterback would say.
It's that simple, huh?
Yeah, and the center is, when he points at somebody, he's letting all the rest of the linemen know where he's starting his count, and everyone takes their blocking assignment based off where he is. So it's not necessarily we're going over there, but this is where the count starts.
I thought the center was like, hey, watch that guy. He looks dangerous. It's not that.
No, that's the quarterback who's doing that.
Okay.
How about communication coming in from the sideline? You see all these fancy signs being held up now. Some are images, some are numbers. Is that anything to pay attention to?
It's fun to watch. And the thing to watch as a fan is keep an eye on the team, and when they take their eyes off the signal caller, you can guess that all the rest of those signals are dummy signals. So a lot of times they're keeping going, and they're already going up to the line of scrimmage. So And it's very creative. Chip Kelly really got that going with pictures of sports personalities. As a matter of fact, you guys, you get your pictures together, send them down, and I'm sure Willie Taggart will put you up there.
It's down to the high school level now where you're seeing these intricate calls and images on the sidelines. Like you said, it's a lot of fun to see.
Well, it's easier for kids to understand. They get a picture and a connection there.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Fun stuff.
Coach, fun to talk with you today. Appreciate you coming in.
Nice talking to you.
Again, that book is called After Further Review by Coach Ken Woody. Orlando, I think you're going to keep that copy, aren't you?